Given that Ajahn Chah himself was kind of, let's say, like in the prime of life, late 30s, early 40s, the monks were very young, it's not really surprising that the atmosphere in the monastery was I guess you call it macho to a certain extent, and there's a kind of a warrior ethos, and Ajahn Chah would be the general, the leader of a band of warriors, and that way of relating to young monks and leading young monks, I think, is something that you find throughout the forest tradition, and in certain, I think, for us these days, certain aspects of that seem a little bit over the top. I would say that the area particularly is in relationship to illness. That Ajahn Chah was, in those days, I mean, his stance on these things relaxed over years for various reasons, was extremely anti-doctors and medical care. Basically, you're a monk in the forest, you live on, if you get ill, you deal with it. You don't make a fuss, and if you really need medicines, you take herbs in the forest, and it's really kind of almost, sissy or a defeat to acknowledge that you have to go into the town and go to a hospital and receive drugs, and so this whole way of speaking was very talking about illness was very much part of the culture in those early days of Wat Pah Pong, and make it good or else die. You don't die, make it good. And if you just practice and you get ill, you don't worry about it. If you die, I'll cremate you. You don't have to worry about the cremation. And this kind of really kind of, let's say, over the top kind of statements, and they can be a bit kind of intimidating or alienating if you're reading about these things. But then speaking with the monks who were there in those days, you say, well, yeah, that's one side of it. But the other side of it is, anyone was ill, Ajahn Chah would be saving some of the best food, and he'd go round to visit the monks in their kuti and to see how they were and make sure someone was looking after them, was washing their robes if they needed it, emptying the spittoon if there's urine or things that need to be disposed of, and just so together with this incredible kind of tough guy kind of attitude, there is this kind of warmth and kindness, and which just somehow don't conflict, that they go together. But in regards to this, Ajahn Chah was, as always, very much the exemplar. He was always the one who practiced what he preached, which was one of the reasons why people had so much confidence in him. And his attitude to physical illness was, just tough it out. And he suffered terribly from malaria in the first few years, and almost died from it. And the only medicine that he would take, and the one that we ourselves were taking in those early days in the forest, was borapet. It's a very bitter vine which would be pounded into a kind of a mash and then strained and then sort of make this very, very bitter drink. And that would be the cure for all kinds of fever, particularly malaria. Well, he had malaria on a number of occasions. It would keep coming back. And the head nun, Mayor Bunyu, relates how he, at one period, he was severely ill with malaria. And she said one of the things you notice before people die, or before the last stage, is your skin has a kind of a greenish tinge to it. So he asked them to carry his body down from up in his kuti onto this bamboo bed under a tree, where it's a bit more kind of breezy. And he was more or less delirious, and there was a kind of some of this herbal medicine, borapet, by the side of him, and everybody was just sort of looking, watching what was going on. It was this incredible kind of struggle, and he'd be laying there, and then he'd sit up, like in meditation posture, and then the malaria was just too strong, and he just sort of crumpled down again, and then a few minutes later, he's sitting again, and then crumpling again. It's just like a titanic struggle. And then at one point he reaches over for this ladle of this herbal solution, and he's shivering so much he tips it all over his head rather than into his mouth. And then something just clicks then, and he sits up, and he doesn't crumple, and he doesn't fall down again. Suddenly he's absolutely straight, and he's gone into samadhi. And everyone's absolutely amazed, you know. And then the morning after that, you can see he's starting to get better. And then he was through that period of malaria.